The next morning arrived with a soft golden light spreading across the fields. Birds sang in the trees, the cows moved quietly in their shed, and the village woke slowly. But inside Ravi's barn, the atmosphere was different. It felt like a moment before something great was about to happen. The creature, now named Noor by Myra, lay curled in a basket of warm hay. It opened its bright eyes as soon as Ravi stepped inside. Ravi smiled gently at it. Noor made a warm sound that filled the barn with calm energy. Myra entered behind her father carrying a small bowl of fruits. She placed the bowl near the creature and watched as Noor sniffed it. The small creature picked one piece with its soft claws and ate it slowly. Myra laughed with joy. She said Noor was growing little by little every day, and she was right. Its scales were shinier, its wings were slightly longer, and its little steps had become more confident and steady. Soon the researchers returned to the farm. They brought more equipment, new notebooks, and new faces from different institutes. Everyone wanted to understand Noor. Everyone wanted to learn about the creature that came from a giant egg found in a simple farmer's field. But Ravi made one thing clear: Noor would not be taken away. The scientists respected that rule and agreed to study the creature on the farm only. They began setting up a safe observation area near the barn. They built soft barriers and created a comfortable space where Noor could move freely. Noor walked around with slow curiosity, inspecting everything. When it reached the edge of the barrier, it turned back and looked for Ravi. Ravi held his hand out. Noor hurried toward him and rested against his leg. The bond between them had grown strong, deeper than anyone expected. By midday, something unexpected happened. Noor spread its wings fully for the first time. The wings were larger than they had been the day before. They stretched like delicate silver sheets. Everyone watched quietly. Noor flapped them slowly at first, then faster. A soft breeze moved across the barn floor. Dust lifted into the air. Myra stepped forward in excitement. She asked if Noor might fly soon. Dr. Taneja said perhaps. But they needed to give the creature time. But Noor had its own plan. It flapped again. This time, its small body lifted a few inches from the ground. Ravi gasped. Myra clapped her hands. The scientists grabbed their instruments. Noor hovered for a moment, then gently came back down. It looked proud, almost happy, as if it understood that it had achieved something important. The researchers recorded every detail. They measured the wing spread, checked Noor's energy level, studied its breathing, and examined the shine on its scales. Every detail was new. Every moment was history. But even with all the scientific excitement around, the creature stayed close to Ravi and Myra, as if they were its family. Later that afternoon, the village heard rumors. Someone had seen the scientists. Someone had noticed unusual lights near the barn at night. Soon villagers began gathering outside the farm. They whispered among themselves. They wondered what rare creature Ravi had found. They wondered if it was dangerous. They wondered if it was a blessing. Finally, Ravi decided to speak to them. He stepped out of the barn and explained everything honestly. He told them about the egg, about the gentle nature of Noor, and about the help from the scientists. He told them that the creature was harmless and peaceful. The villagers listened quietly. Many felt proud that such a rare miracle had happened in their village. A few were cautious, but Ravi's calm voice settled their fear. That evening, something extraordinary happened that changed everything again. As the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with soft red, Noor began to behave strangely. It walked in circles, looked at the sky, then looked back at Ravi. Its wings moved rapidly as if calling him. Ravi knelt beside it. Noor rested its head on his hand. Myra asked what was happening. The scientists watched closely. One of them whispered that the creature might be entering a new stage of growth. Suddenly, quiet vibration passed through the barn. The wooden walls trembled slightly. Noor spread its wings wide. A soft silver glow rose from its scales. It was not a bright beam. It looked like the soft shimmer of moonlight touching calm water. Ravi stepped back as Noor lifted into the air. The creature rose slowly at first, then higher. Everyone watched in complete silence. Noor reached the ceiling, turned in the air with grace, and then returned to Ravi's arms with a gentle landing. The glow faded slowly. The creature looked calm again. It nuzzled into Ravi's chest. Dr. Taneja said this was a sign that Noor had reached a special point in its development. He said the creature was evolving quickly, perhaps faster than any natural species known to science. The researchers were amazed. Mira hugged Noor and said it was the most beautiful moment she had ever seen. By the next morning, the entire country had heard about the discovery. Journalists arrived at the village. They wanted interviews, photographs, and stories. Ravi stayed polite but firm. He told them that Noor was not a showpiece. Noor was a living being who needed care. Some reporters respected his words. Others wanted more access. The scientist stood beside Ravi and told the reporters that the creature's safety came before everything else. As the days passed, Noor grew stronger. Its legs became firm. Its wings became fully shaped. Its scales shone like silver stones in the sunlight. It learned to fly a little higher each day. Noor also learned to follow Ravi around the farm. When Ravi watered the plants, the creature watched. When Ravi fed the cattle, Noor walked beside him. The villagers grew used to the sight. Children waved from the road whenever Noor took short flights near the barn. Soon an important decision had to be made. A large team of experts arrived and asked Ravi to allow Noor to be studied in a special nature reserve. They insisted the reserve was safe, quiet, and designed to protect rare life forms. They said Noor could grow freely there. They promised Ravi and Mira could visit whenever they wanted. But Ravi hesitated. He looked at Noor, who sat near his feet. The creature looked up at him with calm eyes. Ravi knew the world wanted to study Noor. He also knew Noor needed more space than the barn could provide, and Noor needed an environment where it could grow fully without danger. After days of thinking, Ravi called Mira and the scientists together. He said Noor should go to the reserve, but only under one condition. Noor would not be treated as an experiment. It would be treated like a rare friend of nature. The scientists agreed. On the day of departure, the entire village gathered near the farm. They brought flowers, small baskets of fruits, and warm wishes. Children called Noor's name with excitement. Noor spread its wings and flew in small circles, almost as if saying goodbye. Ravi knelt down. He held Noor for a long time. He whispered that Noor would always be a part of their family. Mira hugged Noor gently. Her eyes were watery, but she smiled. Noor made a soft sound and touched its nose to her cheek. When the moment came, Noor stepped into a safe travel enclosure built specially for it. The enclosure was open enough for air and light, but strong enough to keep Noor safe during the journey. Before the team carried it away, Noor looked at Ravi one last time. Its eyes were full of trust. Ravi nodded to show he understood. The villagers clapped as the team left the farm. Ravi placed his hand on Mira's shoulder. They both watched until the vehicle disappeared down the road. Months passed. Noor grew bigger, stronger, and wiser in the reserve. It learned to fly higher than any bird in the area. It learned to glide across lakes, to climb rocky hills, and to rest in warm sunlight. Scientists from around the world visited, but they always followed the rules Ravi had set. They treated Noor with respect. They studied it gently, and they learned more than they could ever imagine. But Noor never forgot Ravi and Mira. Every few weeks, the creature visited the farm. When it saw Ravi, it flew low and landed near him. When Mira called its name, Mira rushed forward with joy. The bond between them stayed strong forever. The simple farmer who once found a giant egg in his field had now become the guardian of one of the greatest scientific discoveries in history. And the creature that hatched from that egg became a symbol of peace, wonder, and the deep connection between humans and nature. Ravi often looked up at the wide sky and smiled. He knew the world had changed. But he also knew this change began in his small field, on the day he found a giant egg half buried in the soil. The hatching room inside the research center was quiet, bright, and filled with a soft warmth. Machines hummed gently as they monitored the egg. A large glass chamber stood in the center of the room. Inside it, the giant egg lay on a cushioned platform, glowing faintly under the warm lights. Scientists stood around the chamber with serious expressions, waiting for the moment they had been preparing for. Ravi stood near the front, his hands pressed together. He had never imagined he would witness something so unusual. He had found the egg in his simple field, and now he was standing beside trained scientists and advanced machines. The quiet room made his heartbeat feel louder in his ears. Every few seconds, he took a slow breath to calm himself. Suddenly, the soft beeping of one machine changed. The long green line on the monitor began to move faster. The scientist leaned forward. Dr. Musa raised his hand and told everyone to stay calm. The temperature was perfect. The readings were stable. The creature inside the egg was ready. Then it happened. A faint sound came from inside the shell. It was soft, like a gentle tap. At first, Ravi thought he imagined it, but then it came again. A small clicking noise echoed through the chamber. The egg trembled slightly. A wave of excitement washed over the room. A light crack appeared on the top of the shell. It was thin and short, but it was enough to make every scientist step closer. Ravi could not move his eyes away from the egg. His heart felt heavy and warm at the same time. He had been waiting for this moment ever since he first found the egg under the dry grass. Another crack formed. This one spread down the side, creating a tiny path across the shell. The creature inside pushed again. The shell trembled and made a soft scraping sound. The scientist watched with calm focus while Ravi watched with open wonder. A small piece of the shell broke away. It fell gently inside the chamber. Through the opening, a small eye peeked out. It was not bright like a lamp, but it had a soft glow inside it. The eye moved slowly, studying the new world outside the shell. Ravi felt his breath catch. The scientist seemed surprised too. The eye looked gentle and curious. It did not show fear. Instead, it looked as if it wanted to understand everything around it. More pieces of the shell started to fall. The creature pushed its small head forward. Its skin was smooth like a reptile, but there were soft feathers running along the back of its head. The feathers looked delicate and light. The creature blinked slowly and tried to open its mouth, but it seemed tired from the effort. Dr. Musa stepped closer and whispered that the creature was emerging perfectly. The team nodded and took notes while recording every moment. They wanted to document the first seconds of this new life. After several pushes, the creature lifted its head fully out of the shell. Its neck was long and flexible. Its small front limbs unfolded from the egg and touched the surface of the chamber. Its tail slipped out last, long and thin with faint patterns that shimmered under the light. The entire room went silent. The baby creature stood weakly but managed to balance itself. It made a soft sound that echoed gently, a sound unlike any bird or reptile they had ever heard. It looked around slowly, moving its head left and right. It seemed to study the scientists first, then the lights, then everything inside the room. When its eyes finally landed on Ravi, something unusual happened. The creature froze. Its eyes fixed on him with a steady and deep focus. Then it took a slow step toward him. Its claws clicked gently against the smooth surface. It tilted its head as if it was trying to recognize something. Ravi felt a strange pull inside his chest. He lowered his hand and placed it on the glass wall of the chamber. The creature pressed its small head against the glass from the inside. A warm calmness filled the air. The scientists looked at each other with disbelief. Dr. Musa whispered that the creature had formed a connection with Ravi. The chamber door opened with a slow motion. The scientists had prepared for this moment, making sure everything was safe and comfortable. The creature stepped out of the chamber. It wobbled a little, but quickly gained balance. It looked around for one moment, then walked straight toward Ravi. It stopped near his legs and made a soft humming sound, as if greeting him. Ravi bent down carefully and extended his hand. The creature touched his palm with its small head. Its skin felt warm and soft. The moment their contact was made, the creature relaxed. Its tiny tail moved gently from side to side. The scientists were amazed. They had expected the creature to feel confused or scared. They had prepared plans in case it became restless. But the creature was calm, peaceful, and focused only on the person who had found its egg in a quiet field. Doctor. Musa stepped forward and observed the creature closely. He checked its posture, its breathing, and its movements. Everything about it looked healthy. The creature had small feathers along its back, smooth scales on its limbs, and large eyes that reflected light beautifully. They guessed that this creature might be related to ancient species long believed to be extinct. Some features looked like those found in old fossils. Other features looked completely new. The scientists began recording every detail. They wanted to understand the creature's behavior. But the creature kept following Ravi. When Ravi stepped right, it stepped right. When he stepped left, it followed. If Ravi stood still, the creature stood beside him. Ravi felt surprised but also touched by the creature's trust. He asked Dr. Musa why it was acting this way. Dr. Musa explained that newborn creatures often form a bond with the first thing they trust. Since Ravi had carried the egg, protected it, and waited during the hatching, the creature might sense familiarity. It might feel safe with him. Ravi listened carefully. He felt a responsibility growing inside him. He did not know what the creature would become in the future, but he wanted to make sure it stayed safe for the rest of the day. The scientists observed the creature as it explored the room. It sniffed every corner carefully. It touched objects with its small claws. It reacted strongly to bright colors and soft sounds. It especially liked staying near Ravi's feet. When the creature grew tired, curled beside Ravi, he placed a soft cloth around it to keep it warm. The scientists watched quietly as the creature drifted into sleep. Its breathing was calm and steady. The lines on its tail glowed faintly with each breath. Hours passed. The scientists continued working, but Ravi stayed beside the creature. He felt more calm than he had in days. He remembered the morning he first found the egg. He remembered the heavy feeling when he lifted it, the patterns on the shell, and the warmth it carried. Now the creature inside that strange egg was resting peacefully near him. Late in the evening, Dr. Musa approached and placed a gentle hand on Ravi's shoulder. He told him that they would need to prepare a special habitat for the creature. They wanted it to grow safely and naturally. He also said they hoped Ravi would stay in the center a little longer. They believed the creature needed him. Ravi did not hesitate. He agreed. He felt responsible for the creature, and he wanted to be by its side. He did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing clearly. His life was no longer the same. The moment the shell cracked, everything changed. The scientists continued their work until late night. They studied samples from the shell, recorded the creature's first sounds, and saved every detail for future research. But Ravi stayed focused on the creature, watching it breathe softly as it slept. He did not know what name the scientists would give it. He did not know what species it belonged to. But he felt that this creature, born from a giant ancient egg, had chosen him in a way that no science could fully explain. The hatching was only the beginning. The true mystery of the creature was just starting to unfold. And Ravi stood quietly at the center of it, ready to face whatever came next. The night settled quietly around the research base, but inside the building, the atmosphere was far from calm. Rian walked beside Lyra as she guided him through a long hallway lined with smooth white walls and soft blue lights. Her daughter Myra followed a few steps behind, curious but calm. Comforted by the presence of both of them, Rian felt strange walking inside an alien structure. Every surface looked clean and polished, every door slid open without a sound, and the lights adjusted automatically as they moved. He tried to stay calm, but the idea that he was inside another world's technology made his heart move a little faster. Lyra paused near a large round doorway. She placed her hand against a small glowing panel, and the door opened to reveal a huge room filled with floating screens and tall machines. The room felt like a mixture of a hospital and a science lab, but far more advanced than anything Rian had seen. "These researchers want to speak with you," Lyra said gently. "Do not worry. They only want to ask questions. They are peaceful." Rian nodded, though he still felt unsure. "I trust you," he said quietly. The simple sentence made Lyra stop for a moment. Her eyes softened in a way he did not expect. She seemed touched by the trust he offered so icily. The researchers waiting inside were not threatening at all. There were 3 of them, each wearing soft blue clothing and carrying small floating devices. They looked more curious than dangerous. One of them stepped forward and spoke in a calm tone. "We heard that you protected the young one," the researcher said. "We wish to understand the event. Your actions were unusual for a human." Rian scratched the back of his neck and looked down at the floor. She was in danger. Anyone would have done the same. The researchers shook their heads slowly. "Not anyone. Many humans do not react with such bravery. Your response was quick and selfless." Rian felt his face warm. He did not know how to respond to that. He had never seen himself as special. He just did what felt right, while the researchers asked their questions. Mira wandered around the room, touching the edges of floating screens and smiling at the gentle lights. Lyra watched her daughter with a soft expression and kept an eye on Rian as well. She noticed how polite he was while answering. How patient he stayed even when he did not understand every question. The researchers studied his reactions, measured his heartbeat, and took small scans of his arm to understand how he had taken the blow from the alien guard. Rian held still through it all. He did not complain or ask to leave. He wanted Mira and Lyra to feel safe. After what felt like an hour, the questions slowed, and the lead researcher nodded in satisfaction. "You may rest," the researcher said. "Your behavior confirms our initial thought. Your reaction was protective in nature, not forced or accidental." Rian raised his eyebrows. "Was that in doubt?" "Some humans act out of fear, confusion, or unpredictable emotion," the researcher explained. "You acted from care. This helps us understand you better." Lyra placed a hand on Rian's arm. "Come, you must rest." They led him to a quiet room with a soft bed that shaped itself to his body when he touched it. Mira climbed onto the bed first, bouncing once in excitement. Rian smiled at the small movement and sat beside her. Lyra watched them both, her expression thoughtful. "You may stay here for the night," Lyra said softly. "Mira feels safe with you, and I am also more at ease when you are near." Rian blinked. "Are you sure?" "I do not want to cause trouble. I know I am only a visitor." "You are not trouble," Lyra said, her voice firm but warm. "What you did for Mira makes you important to us. You do not stand outside our circle anymore." The words made something shift inside Rian. He had spent most of his life feeling like an outsider. Hearing that he was welcomed, valued, and respected by someone from another world felt strange and comforting at the same time. Mira crawled into his lap and leaned against him. Rian placed a gentle hand on her head. Lyra watched the interaction slowly. "You are very good with her," Lyra said. "I just want her to feel safe," Rian replied. "She does," Lyra said. "Because of you?" Moments later, another researcher entered the room, carrying a small device. They placed it on the table and explained that it would monitor his rest to ensure he was recovering from the earlier injury. Rian thanked them and settled back on the bed. Lyra stayed by the door for a moment longer. She looked at him with a warmth that had grown steadily since the moment he protected her daughter. Rian noticed the way she watched him, and for a brief moment they held each other's gaze. There was a quiet connection there, something deep but gentle. "I will return later," Lyra said finally. "If you need anything, just call my name." When she left, Rian leaned back and let out a long breath. He felt a strange mixture of calm and surprise. He had come close to danger, yet he had found something new in the process. He was in a world far from his own, yet he felt safer here than many places on Earth. Mira curled against him and fell asleep quickly. Rian gently pulled a soft blanket over her and rested his back against the headboard. The room was quiet, filled only with the gentle hum of alien technology. After a while, he heard the door open again. Lyra stepped inside, carrying a small tray with warm, tea-like liquid. She walked quietly and placed the tray beside him. "I thought you might need something warm." She said, "Thank you," Rian said. Accepting the cup, Lyra sat on the edge of the bed, her movements graceful and calm. For a few minutes they sat in silence. She watched Mira sleep, and Rian watched her. The soft light reflected on her face, showing the deep care she held for her daughter. "You risked yourself for her," Lyra said quietly. "I have replayed the memory many times. You did not hesitate. You did not think of your safety. You stood between danger and my child. Rian looked down at his hands. I just reacted. I could not let something bad happen to her. Lyra turned slightly toward him. Many would react in fear, but you reacted with protection. This means a great deal. Rian felt his heartbeat pick up. He had never expected this kind of attention or appreciation. You are different from others I have met, Lyra continued. Your heart works in a way that is strong. It is rare. Rian met her gaze. There was something new in her eyes, something warm and deep. For the first time, he realized she was not only grateful, she admired him. She trusted him. She felt something growing inside her that she did not fully understand yet. The feeling made his own heart move in a slow, careful rhythm. Lyra stood up after a moment. Rest well, she said. Tomorrow, we have choices to make. Choices? Rian asked. Yes, Lyra said gently. Your life may not return to the way it was. My world has changed too. Mira sees you as someone safe, and I see you as someone important. We must decide what this means. Rian watched her leave the room. Her words stayed in his mind long after she was gone. Mira slept peacefully beside him, and Rian ran his hand gently over her hair. He did not know what the next day would bring, but he felt a path forming, one he had never expected to walk. A path connected to Lyra, to Mira, and to a world much bigger than his own. As he closed his eyes, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. The next morning arrived softly inside the alien base. The lights brightened slowly, creating a gentle glow instead of a sudden flash. Rian opened his eyes and found Mira still sleeping close to him. Her small hand rested on his arm, and she looked peaceful. It's almost like she belonged right there beside him. Rian breathed out slowly. The night felt long but calming. For the first time in a long while, he felt as if his life had shifted in a direction he did not fear. He looked around the room, noticing the small device on the table that monitored his health. A soft green pulse showed everything was normal. Moments later, the door opened and Lyra stepped inside. She carried a quiet smile, and her eyes showed she had not slept much. But she did not look tired. She looked thoughtful, maybe even hopeful. Good morning, she said. Morning, Rian replied. Lyra stepped closer and checked on Mira. She brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead and kissed her lightly. Mira stirred, but did not wake up. Did you rest well? Lyra asked. Rian nodded. Better than I expected? This place is peaceful. Lyra sat on the edge of the bed. She folded her hands in her lap and looked at him with calm seriousness. We need to talk, she said gently. Rian sat up a little straighter. About what you said last night? Yes, Lyra replied. Everything in my world changed because of you. I want to understand what you want now. What you feel. What you hope for. Rian thought for a moment before speaking. I do not know what my life will look like from here. My world on Earth was simple. I worked, slept, survived. I did not have many people close to me. Helping Myra made me feel something new. Being here with both of you feels right. But I do not want to make any choice that brings trouble for your people. Lyra watched him quietly, her eyes soft. You think about others before yourself. That is why I trust you. Rian felt warmth move through him at her words. Before they could speak more, Mira woke up. She blinked her eyes twice and then looked straight at Rian, without hesitation. She wrapped her arms around his chest and laughed softly. Rian hugged her back, smiling. Lyra watched them and took a slow breath. Something deep inside her settled. She saw the clear bond between them, something that had grown naturally without force. It was a connection she could feel as strongly as Mira did. A small knock sounded at the door. Lyra stood and opened it. A researcher stepped inside with a respectful bow. We have completed the evaluation, the researcher said. We are ready to discuss the situation with all three of you. Lyra nodded. We will come. The researcher left, and Lyra turned toward Rian. Come with me. Everything today will shape our future. Rian lifted Mira into his arms, and the little girl rested her head on his shoulder while they walked. Lyra walked beside him, close enough that their arms brushed now and then. They reached a large meeting room with a round table in the center. Several researchers and leaders stood around it. The atmosphere felt calm, but important. A tall figure stepped forward to speak. He seemed to be the leader among them. Rian, the leader said, "We have studied what happened. Your actions protected our young one. We respect this deeply. Now we must talk about what comes next." Rian nodded, holding Myra close. Lyra stood beside him with steady confidence. The leader continued, "Your world is not aware of us. We must keep our existence hidden for now. But we also cannot ignore your presence here. You have formed a bond with Lyra's family, and Lyra has requested something important." Rian turned slightly to look at Lyra. She kept her gaze forward, calm but firm. "What did she request?" Rian asked. Lyra finally turned to him. "I asked them to let you stay with us," she said softly. "Not as a guest. As part of our family." Rian felt his breath catch for a moment. His mind spun with surprise, but not in a bad way. He looked at Lyra, seeing the honesty in her eyes. The leader raised a hand. "We have discussed her request. We see no harm in allowing you to remain here. But we must ask you something important. This choice will not be simple." Rian swallowed. "What choice?" "You must decide whether you return to Earth or stay with Lyra and Mira in our world. If you stay here, you cannot reveal our existence to others. You will become part of our society. This means you may not return to Earth freely." Rian looked down at Mira. Her small hands clung to his shirt. Her eyes held trust and warmth. Then he looked at Lyra. She did not pressure him with her expression. She simply waited, giving him space to think. "What happens if I return to Earth?" Rian asked. "You will be removed from all memory records here," the leader said gently. "You will be taken home safely, but you will not be able to return to this place. You will not see them again." The room fell quiet. Mira hugged his neck tighter as if she understood. Every word Rian felt pain rise in his chest at the idea of leaving them. He had known Lyra and Mira for a short time, but the connection felt stronger than anything he had in years. Protecting Mira changed something inside him. Being trusted by Lyra healed a place in him he did not even know was wounded. He took a slow breath. "I want to stay," he said softly. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment as relief spread across her face. Mira let out a happy sound and hugged him again. The leader nodded. "We respect your decision. You are welcome." The meeting ended, and Lyra led Rian out into one of the open garden spaces inside the base. The garden was filled with softly glowing plants and gentle air. They walked slowly, letting the moment settle around them. Lyra finally stopped near a small pond. Mira ran ahead to look at her reflection in the water. Lyra turned toward Rian. "You chose to stay," Miss Rian said. "I know it is a big change, but I did not have a real home before this. With you and Mira, I feel something real, something I do not want to lose." Lyra stepped closer to him. "I feel the same. I wanted you to stay not because you saved Myra, but because you changed the way I see the world. You brought kindness into our lives. You gave Myra safety, and you gave me hope in a way I did not expect." Rian felt his heart move with calm strength. "I want to be here for both of you. I want to build a life here if you will have me." Lyra reached for his hand. When their fingers touched, the connection felt warm, steady, and meaningful. "You are part of our family now," Lyra said gently. From this day forward, Mira turned and ran back to them, grabbing both their hands with her small ones. "Together," she said with a bright smile, and so they stood. The three of them joined by a bond that grew from one simple act of bravery. Rian had walked into danger to save a child, and in return, he found a new life filled with trust, peace, and belonging. The alien world did not feel strange anymore. It felt like home. A new beginning had started for all of them, shaped by the heart of one man who chose to protect, and a mother who chose to trust him forever. Ravi was a simple farmer who lived in a small village near the river. His house was made of clay walls and a tin roof. Life had never been easy for him, but he carried a peaceful heart. Every morning he woke up before sunrise, washed his face with cold water from the clay pot, and walked toward his field. His field was not very large, but it was all he had. He depended on it to feed himself and to earn a small income. Ravi believed that the land understood him. He spoke to his crops as if they could hear him. It was his habit to walk slowly between the small plants and check each corner of the soil. This routine kept him grounded. Even though money was short and life was sometimes heavy, he tried to stay hopeful. One ordinary morning, the sky was painted with soft shades of orange. A cool breeze moved across the field. Ravi carried a small tool to remove weeds, and he also carried hope in his heart. He wanted this season to be better than the last one. As he bent down to pull out dried grass near the center of the field, his hand brushed against something hard and smooth. At first, he thought it was a stone. Stones were common in his field, and he often removed them to keep the soil clean. But when he pushed away the layer of dry grass and dug a little deeper into the soil, he froze. What he saw was neither a stone nor anything he had ever found before. There lay an object that was perfectly round, bigger than a football, and smooth like polished wood. When he wiped more dirt from its surface, he realized that it was an egg, a giant egg. He stared at it with wide eyes. He had seen chicken eggs, duck eggs, and even goose eggs in the past, but this egg was far larger and heavier than anything he knew. For a moment, Ravi thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. He stood up and looked around to see if someone else had placed it there as a joke, but there was no one in sight. The field was silent, except for the soft rustling of leaves. The egg looked unusual, as if it belonged to a creature that no one had ever seen. He knelt down again and touched the shell. It felt warm, almost like it had absorbed heat from the sun, even though the field had been cool in the early morning. He moved his fingers across the strange lines on its surface. These lines looked like natural patterns, delicate and flowing like the branches of a tree. Ravi felt a spark of fear mixed with curiosity. What creature could lay such an egg? He lifted it slowly. The egg was heavier than he expected, and he had to hold it with both hands. He pressed it gently against his chest to prevent it from slipping. Ravi carried it toward the shade of a tree at the edge of the field and placed it carefully on a sack. He sat beside it, staring at it, as if it might open at any moment. His mind ran in many directions. Was it dangerous? Was it valuable? Should he tell someone? He took a deep breath to calm himself. Ravi had always believed in being honest, so he decided that he must show this to someone who understood science. There was a science teacher named Arun who lived near the village school. Arun was known for his knowledge and calm nature. Ravi felt that he could trust him. He wrapped the egg in a thick cloth, placed it inside a large basket, and held the basket tightly. Then he walked toward the village. The villagers were busy with their morning routines. Some were feeding their animals, some were preparing breakfast, and some were gathering water. Ravi walked past them without speaking because he did not want to attract attention yet. When he reached Arun's house, he knocked on the wooden door. Arun opened it and smiled when he saw Ravi, but his smile faded when he noticed the look on Ravi's face. Ravi explained that he had found something unusual in his field and wanted Arun to see it. Curious, Arun invited him inside. Ravi placed the basket on the table and unwrapped the cloth. Arun leaned forward and adjusted his glasses. The moment he saw the egg, he took a step back. His face showed surprise and deep interest. He walked around the table, observing the egg from every angle. He tapped lightly on the shell and listened. He inspected the lines and the color of the shell. Then he looked at Ravi with serious eyes. Arun told Ravi that this was not an egg from any bird or animal found in the area. He said it could be something rare. He suggested that Ravi take the egg to a research center in the city. He believed that scientists there would understand its nature better. Ravi trusted Arun's advice. He thanked him, wrapped the egg again, and prepared to travel to the city the next morning. That night, he barely slept. He kept thinking about the egg, the strange patterns on its shell, and the warm feeling it gave. He wondered what might be inside it. The next day, Ravi took an early bus to the city. The bus was crowded, and he held the basket on his lap the entire time, afraid that someone might crush it by accident. Every bump on the road made him hold his breath. After a long journey, he reached the city and walked straight to the research center. The building was large, with white walls and tall glass windows. Ravi felt nervous, but he gathered courage and went to the security gate. The The guard stopped him and asked what he wanted. When he showed them the egg, their expressions changed. They asked him to wait while they called the scientists inside. A group of scientists arrived shortly. They looked at the egg with surprise, just like Arun had. They asked Ravi a series of questions about where he found it, how deep it was buried, and whether he noticed anything else around it. Ravi answered each question honestly. The scientists seemed excited. One of them, named Dr. Musa, spoke kindly to Ravi. He said that they needed to study the egg carefully. Ravi agreed to leave it in their care because he also wanted to know the truth behind it. The scientists took the egg. Inside a special lab, the room had machines and screens that Ravi had never seen before. They placed the egg inside a glass chamber and scanned it using their instruments. The screens showed moving shapes inside the egg. Something was alive in it. Something was growing. The scientists exchanged surprised looks. Ravi stood quietly, his heart beating fast. He felt a mix of fear and wonder. The egg was no longer just an unusual object from his field. It was a mystery that might change everything. News spread quickly through the research center. More experts arrived to see the egg. They took photos, recorded data, and discussed theories with excitement. Some believed it might belong to a long-extinct species. Others thought it might be something completely unknown. But one thing was clear. The egg was close to hatching. The life inside it was becoming stronger, and movements inside the shell were increasing. The scientists began preparing a safe room for the moment it opened. Ravi stood near the glass chamber and watched the egg with growing amazement. He had started his morning thinking about weeds and crops. And now he was watching a scientific wonder that had slept under his soil for who knows how long. He could not understand why such a strange and rare thing had appeared in his small field. But he felt that his life was about to change in a way he could never have imagined. The egg rested inside the chamber, warm and glowing gently under the light, while Ravi waited for the moment when the unknown life inside it would finally reveal itself.